Welcome to January 28, 2020, however you want to say it. Roll call, please.
Mayor Webb.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sullivan.
Here.
Councilmember Aubrey.
Here.
Councilmember LaCuro.
Here.
Councilmember McFall.
Here.
Invocation, pledge of allegiance, please stand. Please take a moment of silence for Arnold Schiffman, our former and well-missed city attorney for many years. Thank you.
Arnie was truly a great man. As Tom Selman put it, the world has lost a model citizen.
Mr. Mayor, I know we're getting ready to do the invocation and prayer, but I also want to echo what Councilman LaCuro said. Without Arnold Schiffman, I don't know if I would have become city manager. I know that he made me a better city manager. I treasured his astute legal ability, but more than that, I treasured his wisdom. He was a wise man with an extraordinary heart who was kind to everyone that he encountered. I will miss him every day forever. He was a giant in the city's history.
Arnold was a man you'll never forget. He was a friend to everyone, and let's all remember.
Holy Spirit, source of all life, we gather together as the elected officials of our community, charged by the people to discern our future together. We are a diverse body, brought together by the same Spirit. We pray that we will be faithful to the work at hand, to set aside our own personal agendas, to seek out the greater good. Open our minds and our hearts to listen for your will for us, and bestow upon us your wisdom and grace. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, get approval of the agenda as presented.
Who will move approval of the agenda, please?
Support.
Any discussion on the agenda? Dissension? We have an agenda. Civic announcements. I'll open it to civic announcements. Anyone from the audience have any civic announcements? Anyone from the city council table have a civic announcement they want to bring up? Any of the firefighters?
Yeah, just remind that. We have that on the cable channel.
I believe we have that on cable, and I believe we have it on Facebook, and I will make sure that it goes up again. Unfortunately, the alleys that we have now are very small, and usually it sells out very quickly, but I'll try to make sure that they have some things there for folks to participate, and some raffles and things like that. And if there are no more bowling slots, please don't hesitate to come up and say hello to our firefighters. We usually get a lot of firefighters. Our police officers support this event as well. It's a good time to meet the people who protect you and support their endeavors.
I just wanted to announce that the applications are now open for the Hazel Park Art Fair for the artists. So if you visit our Facebook page or the website at hpartfair.org, if you're an artist, you can now apply.
Any other civic announcements? And then we'll close civic announcements, open public discussion. Anyone for the audience have any public discussion, please come.
Mr. Mayor, you have one sheet ahead of you, Jesse Robinson.
This lady here is one.
I'm sorry.
Good evening, I'm Sherry A. Wells from Ferndale, although tonight I'm also Mrs. Ferndale, which I have been as many occasions for historically related things in Ferndale, such as when we put the historic plaques on the buildings downtown. And so I've been in there for a few photo ops for that. What I'm here tonight for is I do some genealogy research for people, and I discovered that there's no good way to find out which city libraries and historical museums have these city directories. And so I compiled a list of where they all are in our southeast corner of Oakland County, based on the original Royal Oak Township, In 1833, it was 8 Mile Road baseline to 14 to Quinder to Greenfield, and how each city took out its little piece of the township. And Hazel Park was the township hall until 1941 when it became the city, and the township hall then moved up to Madison Heights until 1955 when Madison Heights took its chunk out. And Hazel Park called itself the Friendly City. Several of the cities had different little monikers they chose. And from my experience, it still stands. I have on here also the list of every library and historical site, and the Polk directories go from 1922, and I stopped at 1960 because that's not old. So I'm going to be heading over to the library next door to give them their copy, and then I'll give the Historical Museum their copy as well.
Right, may I share?
Yes.
Take a copy.
I have a couple little changes to do on this.
Okay, very good.
Are you going to take it on behalf of the library or the historical?
We'll take it on behalf of the city.
I've got one copy for the library and one copy for the historical, but I can bring you another one some other time.
I will take it for the historical commission.
Then I'll make my little additions.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Jesse Robertson?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have come before you tonight to bring attention to an incident that has rocked our entire community. As many of us are aware by now, 3 weeks ago on this date, a resident of our very own city was betrayed by the very couple he'd gone out of his way to help. Terrence Finken had taken in Brian Moore and Miranda Stidham late last year when they had absolutely nothing. But this month, they repaid this kindness by robbing his home and stealing his truck. However, as this couple has apparently been apprehended just as of earlier today, and will most certainly face justice soon enough, I would rather like to talk about something a bit different. Rather than ruminating upon these criminals and the charges that they face, I would like to draw focus on the more positive side of the story, the reactions that we've gotten. When the story aired, it was factual, accurate, without error. This is quite a refreshing change of pace in an era where media often rushes to be the first to get the scoop without double-checking themselves. When the story isn't correct at first, by the time a correction or retraction arrives, it's often too late, and the people are left with the wrong ideas. This time, we see that we had the correct details from the start, and everybody understands. I would also, very importantly, highlight the response given by the Hazel Park Police Department, whom, as I've learned, gave more than just professionalism in their response. They didn't just show up to do their job. They were also there for Terrence and gave him an ear and their sympathy when he needed it most. Our veterans are, tragically, some of the most vulnerable people in our society. After giving what they could for their country for years, they are often left alone and neglected, being allowed to fall through our cracks. But this time, we got to refute that norm. The media were fair, the police were kind, and the community itself has reached out to help with all they can. This is further proof of how, even in the midst of terrible events like this, great things are happening in the city of Hazel Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Seeing no one, we'll close the public discussion. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move approval of the consent agenda items 1 through 4.
Support with discussion.
Support with discussion. Go ahead.
I wasn't originally going to bring this up, but I've brought it up so many times before. I just want to point out again that in April of 2019, Dutch Light applied for a business license. Their operating season is now closed, and they should be applying soon for their 2020, and yet they still have not been approved for 2019. I'm getting a little concerned about this item and that we have businesses operating without licenses.
I will just drop that from the list next week, and we'll make sure that they apply and they get licensed accordingly. It may be, I think it's a 2-year license, isn't it, Jenny?
Yeah, it's
So
April.
we'll find out why that is. It may just be they're lacking a final inspection, or lacking approval from one department that may not circulate.
But it's still a problem that they've been open, they're not closed for the season, and they didn't receive a license, so we
Right.
really need to figure out what.
We'll find out what it is. Do we know why that's
And
been?
don't drop
It's
it if
building
you don't get a
department. I
license.
think they need to turn in an inspection or something to the building
They
department,
may turn in like
like a furnace or
a
something.
furnace cert or something. So we'll find out.
Yeah, if, I love Doug's like, they really
We'll
need
get
to solve the 2019 issues before, because it's 2020.
We'll get them.
Do not drop that from the list until.
We'll get them.
it's all-
We'll get them. No, I wouldn't drop from the list because it's got one more year of eligibility. If it was more long, then it would be a year where they didn't need to be on the list, then we'd drop them from the list because it would be no reason for them to.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, dissension? Consent agenda passes. Takes us to administrative reports. Hearing none. We had to open that public hearing, didn't we?
Oh, thank you, thank you, Sherry. I actually have Sherry's book in my, she is an author, correct?
Yes.
Author of Michigan Law Made Simple, and I actually have her book. So, thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, you have something under new business. You have a request here from Trusensa. They would like a temporary license for recreational for their dispensary, similar to what was done for the transport. This would be conditional upon an opening date and applying for a permanent license. And if they fail to receive the permanent license, obviously the temporary rec approval would expire.
Anything after that? We were on administrative reports. I thought we had to reopen the hearing on that last meeting.
I don't think you need to reopen the hearing. We need to reopen the hearing or just the notice of the hearing?
Notice of the hearing?
Just the
Okay.
notice of the hearing.
Just wanted to make sure.
So, right. I think the hearing itself is on the 11th, correct?
Yeah.
For the NEZ, yeah.
Yes.
It's an easy, yeah.
Yes, it's February.
Just wanted to make sure.
No, we don't go from
I want to double check. All right, the new business, we already kind of went through that. Any other comments on this issue?
I have a few comments, because I suspect that we'll probably be getting some more requests for temporary approval for recreational adult use licensing. I'm getting a little frustrated that we've got people coming to get more licenses, or will be coming to get licenses when their initial business has not yet opened. I've had a couple discussions with Norfolk about this. I'm going to recommend, if we do consider any recreational licensing, that we put a requirement of an open by date, because we've got businesses that we've already licensed for medical, and they've already applied for their renewal and they're still not open. And this is just getting to the point, I don't want to.
Getting ridiculous.
It's getting ridiculous, and I'm trying to choose my words nicely. But I understand there's holdups and stuff, and I'm tempted to. I did talk to Ed about possibly getting a report and sending a letter out to all of our licensees that are not yet open and having them explain, why aren't you open? I do know a couple have had issues with contractors. We all know how that goes. There can be holdups, but I want an explanation why before we're going to approve any temporary licensing, because this will go with ridiculous. But they came to us,
Well,
you
the
know,
other part-
saying,
The other, I understand, I get it.
yeah,
The other part I don't understand is why are we to this point now? And why did we try to get them to give us a letter of why they haven't. I understand this. We already should have had something from them since it's been over a year and a half.
We're going through the renewal process, you can feel free to ask them. Mr. Akash is here, did you?
Yeah, I can't speak for everybody else.
Can you
but
come to the podium, please?
Yeah.
Well, I noticed sometimes some of these businesses had a lack of supply.
Right.
But some of them don't even, they haven't even built out their space, so
Right,
regardless of supply.
Right, and that's the one, we have a couple that haven't even built or even touched the
Haven't even
building.
broken ground.
Nothing.
Yep, and they all came and they said, oh no, we'll be open, you know, in months, it'll be great, it'll be fantastic. And I understand the supply is one thing, the supply doesn't stop your contractors from working.
Especially when you want to be fully integrated and you want to have
Well,
everything.
here's the other thing, do we pull those licenses for the people that haven't even broke ground?
Well, I think that's a discussion that we have during the consideration process for new licenses.
I mean, that's
Therefore,
something we need to look
for
at.
renewals,
So-
I mean, do we consider?
Well, they, as far as I'm concerned, it's been over a year and a half, almost 2 years, some of them, since we handed out those licenses, and they haven't done nothing. They-
And-
Right.
We gave the extension because the state was dragging their feet
For
in
some,
consideration.
there are good reasons, and in other cases, like this gentleman, he's actually substantially ready to.
We have CFOs at all our
Yeah.
locations. Actually, the grow was licensed in August.
We saw that.
Yeah, and then I just got,
Excuse me, can you please identify yourself?
my name is Noel Lakash, business owner in City of Hazel Park.
Address, please.
Which probably 24117, John.
Thank you.
So actually, the grow, all of our facilities were built out, constructed. We have certificates of occupancies at all of them. The grow was actually licensed and operating August 16th of last year. We had the provisioning center actually done before that, but obviously the supply situation, so we needed to have a few turns in our grow to have enough inventory to be able to open that. I just picked up that license today for the provisioning center. It was actually approved on Thursday, but they don't print them out until, they only print them out certain days of the week. And we're in the process now of opening the medical, but because of those.
We understand
Yeah.
that there's a problem with the
Yeah.
amount of supply and demand and
Yeah.
testing products. I think we all understand this issue because every other city in this state's going through the same thing.
I think it's great that he has answers for us,
Yeah,
because
it
I
is
think
great.
that a lot of people in this community also have these same questions.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
that we are the only,
No.
I don't think we're the only six
No, we're
people, 7 people
Yeah,
that
and
are wondering why it's taking so long, so I appreciate
Yes.
the ability for you to disseminate that correct information to people about why this is taking so long.
Yeah, and like I said, I can't answer for everyone else. I just know that, you know, as soon as we received conditional approval, we ran on all our construction, new parking lots, we redid everything, and, you know, it was really more of a business strategy type thing where, you know, you can't open up a retail store and just not have anything on the shelves. And we're vertically integrated here in the city. We actually have our processing facility, which is going through state review right now. It's a little bit tougher than all the other ones because we have extraction and, you know, C1D1 rooms and all these other things. So, but the retail, we actually got licensed on Thursday. We've had inventory coming in every day since Thursday, and we're in the process now of like figuring out the rec situation. And the problem is with the way the rules, the MRA set this up, you can't just, you know, open up day one and have rec inventory. You have your inventory in your store, your medical inventory has to be 30 days old before you can even transfer 50% of it over to rec. This is a state rule. And then on our grow side, we can only transfer half of our flower inventory, period, like 50% of that. So in order for us to even like get that inventory in the store, it's kind of like we have to run. I mean, you know, we weren't sitting on our approval. I literally just picked up that, like I drove to Lansing back and got that for the store today. And I was hoping that in parallel we could get the rec going so that we could have them both open, both licenses active in the city simultaneously. Worst case scenario, we have one at medical and we're maybe 2 weeks out on the rec after we make all the transfers happen because there's so many steps that we have to take.
Do you currently have a potential open date in mind?
Well, we could open up medical probably in the next week or two. I mean, we're literally there every day organizing inventory and everything. It's just, you know, it's got to be right, you know. And you know, happily give tours to any council or anybody else in the city if they'd like to see its current status. It's like operational, but we don't want to open up the doors until, you know, we make sure we have all our ducks in a row. So, yeah, there's been no delays on our part. We can only run as fast as the state can move, and run only as fast as, like, you know, all these processes take. It sucks just because, you know, it's just the nature of the process. But in terms of moving on
approvals. Like I said, I can't speak with everybody else. I do think that there's something there. Some other cities have said, hey, if there isn't any forward movement on your project, I mean, have they all pulled building permits or in the process of construction? I mean, these are things you should be doing anyway, but I can't speak to them, but maybe there is some type of a shelf life on that until you guys see some forward progress, because like you said, it's, you know.
We put these requirements on people
Yeah.
with demolitions, you know, they come in for show cause hearing and stuff, and we say, hey, you gotta pull your building permit, all this stuff. So I'm wondering if we can get a review by the administration, to identify anybody that hasn't made any progress or reasonable
We can,
progress.
I think we can do that, and remember, we're going to be going through those applications, each and every one of them. So I think as we begin, from the administration's point, you requested of us to do a report on each one of those, we're going to find out what their status is on medical, and we're going to ask them, where are you? What's happening? I mean, there's some that I know that can be challenged. One, you mentioned a contractor, another one had a legal challenge with two partners who applied for the license. Sometimes there are some things that are beyond the control of the applicant. In other areas, they've been, I think, maybe somewhat slow. I will say, this gentleman has not been. So.
Yeah, it's clear that his building is done,
All of them are.
but there's
Yeah.
clearly buildings that are not done.
Yeah, there are really buildings
So
that
I
are not even
think,
been
I
touched.
don't think anyone's signaling you out.
I know. No,
I think
and
they're-
it's definitely a
I-
conversation to be
I
had.
think they're asking you questions
Yeah.
because one of the
You have
strongest
answers.
points of your whole application process is you were one of the applicants that really took the time to educate the council and the administration on what the process, how the whole process worked. I mean, I didn't know anything about marijuana.
I think it's a great idea. Maybe it's, like you said, maybe inquires and get an answer, a formal answer. I mean, it could be the state licensing process. I mean,
And that has been an issue.
that was not easy.
That was
We went through an
there.
intro to get through.
There was a-
Yeah.
There was a board before the new governor, and that board had one person on the board that basically held up the entire process. It was ridiculous, so,
We've taken that into consideration.
no, I know, you just
So
want to
if-
know, what are you
If you
doing?
have people who cannot show reasonable cause for delay, I'm inclined to go with, we had a lot of applicants that we liked, but because we were limited in the number of licenses, we weren't able to approve. There's a lot of licenses on file, people keep asking, and I'm inclined to say, if you can't get your state license, if you can't get your shit together, then let's move on to the next one.
That was profound.
There's a lot of other applicants, correctly.
So definitely, and I would hold out, so if we can put a hold on a, I guess, renewals or issuing.
They've already renewed, they would have had to renew those licenses months
Everyone's
ago.
renewed?
Yes, everyone has renewed, even those who have not opened, those that they have.
Well, it doesn't mean they have to get a recreational,
But that does not mean they have to get a
if they
recreational
didn't follow
license.
through with the original.
Yeah, if you can't show good faith,
Again.
this is a highly coveted license, and if you can't show that you're a responsible business owner, I don't know that you deserve it.
But
So I'm just
doesn't that really just hold up the recreational, because you have to be medicinal first? So then it kind of holds those in.
It's being held up anyways.
I think
Well, it's
what,
not gonna affect the applicants that are opening.
I
That's,
think what the councilwoman is voicing, and she can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to speak for her, is all of our frustration that there was so much of a, I'm in a hurry, please give me this, I'm going to deliver everything that you could ever believe, and we're like, what? And as Mr. Akash indicates, some of this is completely not within their control, but other things, no matter what, even though these things weren't under control, he and a few others took the initiative, and they had enough faith in the city and the process that they made the investment and they built out their businesses.
well, also
So, it's a
communicating with the
balance.
city where you're at in the process,
And-
if you're actually,
And-
if your intent is to open, but you are having these difficulties, reaching out to the city
And-
manager and to the city administration and letting them know what's going on is a
And I-
completely appropriate way to handle that, but like leaving us hanging and.
I have updates on two other applicants that I can give you. There are legal reasons why they have to be
Okay.
done in confidence, but yes.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
but
Thank
the
you.
administration sees no problem with granting this request.
Council?
I'll make a motion that, actually, do I need to read all of this, or?
I don't think you need to read all of this. I think you just need to say that you move for the, you're still new.
I have one more question, Uncle, before you make your motion.
Okay.
If we grant this, what is the date you will have all of this, like, what's your
Well, I'm
recreation?
not planning on waiting for the rec license to open. We'll open with medical, but I need to get that process started because it just takes so much time to get the inventory moved over.
So the fast.
So I was actually
If
hoping
we
to,
put- If we said if we gave you 4 weeks,
I would say 60 days would be a little bit,
60 days?
yeah, 60 days would be good, a little bit.
Okay, so I would like to, for any of these.
Well, I mean, I 60 days, I think, yeah, that's over, under promising, over delivering.
60 days is.
Medical's already there. I'm already, like, we could open the doors
No,
tomorrow.
I think
But
the
I-
question is though, is when does the medical go?
When can
Oh.
you open for medical?
We can open, like, right now, the issue, it's just setting a date, so,
Can
can
you contact us with it?
yes. And I'd like to
I would
coordinate with you too, because
For-
obviously we want to do a ribbon cutting and make that all kind of.
I prefer to find a comfortable time frame, even if it's 60 days for your medical.
No,
Just-
medical's gonna be like a week or two.
I know, but I'm
Oh.
just saying, for anybody that's coming asking for a temporary license, I want to put a condition on it,
Right.
that if you can't get your medical or, the main piece open,
Mhm.
then you lose your temporary recreational. Because I know they're not going to open recreational before medical. But I want to put that condition, I want to hold people's feet to the fire now instead of going through the situation where we give people, I want people to realize we're serious about this. Get open.
Mhm.
You made promises and we're going to hold, not just you, I'm saying anybody, because I don't think he's going to be the only request.
Yeah, we get this.
So I want to set a precedent now that we put a time frame.
60 days.
Yeah, and I've come 60 days, so you're 2 weeks?
You're
Then you're
you're
good.
way ahead of the game, so
Okay.
you've got 60 days to open a medical.
I just need 60 days to get the rec license. I'll have medical open like,
Right, so I think we're fine with that motion. Let's go with 60 days, so it's uniform.
He's trying to.
And I under promise over deliver, so it'll probably be a little bit sooner than that, so, okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Councilman
It's not
McCall,
for you, it's for
do you want us to do your motion now?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we grant the temporary license to Tricenta with the stipulation that they will have their medicinal facility open within 60 days.
Just to be clear, the grow is already open and operating. It's medicinal, and I'm asking for rec for that
Right,
too. So that because we need rec there to be able to.
For
to-
both licenses to be
yeah.
active immediately for recreation on a temporary basis until such time he completes one way or the other the application process for recreation.
Do I have support?
I
You
will
just want to say
support.
so move to that,
So moved.
Jimmy?
Vote.
Did you get that?
and he shall have 60 days.
Yes, I'll need to
open.
consult the
Any more
paperwork for that, yes,
discussion?
but.
Dissension? There you go.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Okay, it takes us to communications from the department heads. Do you want to speak?
Mr. Mayor, Tim Young is here, he's going to give you an update on the water testing. He's worked very hard on this, he's been my point person, my liaison with the EPA and Siegel, and I'm grateful for the work that he's done with
Good evening, everyone. So about a month ago, everybody saw the ooze coming out. Pretty much immediately, they performed samplings in all the storm drains in the area. Hazel parks were cleaned, so we were in good shape then. And they've expanded sampling in the last couple of weeks to include more of the storm lines, which have come back clean. And then they performed soil borings up on, if you were to drive on 10 now, you see little pipes sticking out on the north side in front of the businesses. That was to check out the groundwater underneath, and they found nothing there either. So it seems to be everything is isolated to the far north side of that building there. EPA has got a real first-class operation going there, pretty impressive. And then recently, Madison Heights took the initiative to do drinking water samplings because everybody's concerned with that. They tested several locations in Madison Heights around the area. They tested our DPS building, they tested Royal Oaks DPS building, and everybody came back clean there as well. So I just want to let everybody know that everything is under control up there, and City Hazel Park is safe.
Yes, for the record, we're on top of this. We discussed, Tim talks to them almost daily. I receive daily communications from the EPA. I share some of them with you. There is no threat at this time to the residents of Hazel Park, either the groundwater or the drinking water. Everything so far has come back safe. Statements to the contrary are nothing more than rumor mongering and nonsense. It's just a bunch of BS. So everything is safe so far. If we run across anything that runs into a level that would cause a concern or be problematic, we will let the residents of Hazel Park know immediately. Please don't believe nonsense, conspiracy theories, silly people just starting nonsense to get a rise out of other people on social media, because we've seen that as well. So our drinking water, most assuredly safe, been tested multiple times. And that goes for lead as well. There's no lead in our water either, okay? We've tested, we've done soil borings south of the site. There appears to be no migration at all south of the site. EPA will continue to monitor the situation with Eagle, and if we receive any other test results that say anything different, we'll let the residents know. They tested at our request. We very much wanted to know if there was any potential threat to our residents, and we are pleased to report that we were very lucky and there is no discernible contamination in the city of Hazel Park. None whatsoever.
To tag on to this, I wanted to let everybody, give them a reminder that Eagle is holding a community forum in Madison Heights. It is open to the public. It is February 3rd from 6 to 8 p.m. and that's located at 915 East 11 Mile, Madison Heights, Michigan. It's at Madison High School. And again, this is hosted by Eagle. It's a community forum and anybody is open to attend.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Chief, you got anything?
I don't, but I can answer questions if you have any.
Anybody have any questions?
Lacey
No?
Christensen?
No? Okay. City Attorney,
No.
she can answer?
Just that Michigan system of municipal finance remains fundamentally broken, but nonetheless, in Hazel Park, we find a way to persevere all the time, every day, every way. I have great staff, great employees, and the best residents on the planet. Thank you.
Councilperson Albert?
I think I've said what I have to say tonight.
60 days.
Councilperson McFall?
MDOT will be hosting an open house at the Hazel Park Recreation Center on February 13th from 4 to 7. They're going to be discussing the next phase of the I-75 project from 8 Mile to 696.
Yes.
Councilperson Carroll?
Just want to thank everybody for coming out and participating, and in the mortal words of Tom Selman, if you love somebody, tell them, and if you have children, hug them and tell them you love them every day. Have a great time.
Again, I want to thank you for coming out. Also, kind of a bizarre note, but if you are seeing wildlife more active this time of year, it is the natural breeding season for raccoons and foxes. So do not assume that if you see them out during the daytime, they are sick or ill. Just leave them be. They're just out looking for a date. It's okay. More people need love in winter. So be kind to your neighbors. Don't use poison. And have a safe week.
I have so many comebacks.
You're welcome.
Anyways, I'd like to say thank you for coming out this evening, and I hope you enjoyed our entertainment. And
We have executive session.
I guess we do.
Okay.
Data
And,
versus.
thank you, I'd like to thank Tim for his water update again, and we want to take a moment to say, Arnold Shippen, we're going to miss your integrity and wisdom here at our city for many years. He's been a true enlightenment for our community for decades.
Mr. Mayor, I think what we'll do with all of your permission is we'll compose some kind of a resolution, and maybe in the next month or so, we will invite the family to come. I went to the funeral, and the family told this wonderful story. I mean, obviously, Arnie Schiffman had to pinch it as our prosecutor. Jan Drum did most of the prosecuting. for many years. Arnie would have to fill in from time to time. And he was prosecuting here in Hazel Park, and of course he had to do his duty as a prosecutor, and he secured a conviction on a young man that he felt very badly for his circumstances. So after he convicted the young man of this offense, and he went over to his wife and said, give him the money to pay the fine. And that was Arnie Shipman. He was one of the best human beings I ever met. He was one of the wisest men that I knew. And he was somebody that in the darkest of times I could call for wise counsel and great advice. I loved that man. I will miss him, like I said before, every day forever.
He was, life's too short to worry. Life's too short.
That was Arnie.
Yeah.
Arnie would help anybody that needed help. He would give you the shirt off of his back.
Don't worry about it, life's too short, was his phrase.
Yeah, he was a wise man. Executive session.
Motion to go into exec session for pending litigation.
Motion to go into executive session for pending litigation.
Support.
And you want to have any more discussion on that one? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Exec session it is. Touch it, not the whole thing.
It was the worst. I was like, I'm dying. It's great though, like just sort of better eating for me because I couldn't eat anything for like 2 days.
Is this being recorded or no?
Yeah, I can turn it off right now though. I was just
No, I was just
because I figured we would
wondering.
do the motion so that we can.
Ed was like, what about
That's right, I remember.
And that is why I'm making sure we have it.
Not put it back on the table.
let's not put it back on?
I mean, I have cameras in my house at least now, so if it gets firebombed, I can do it.
That's okay.
I
Jimmy?
still.
Do you have something you can take? Okay, take it on.
Yep. Ron.
Want to stand around the microphone?
Yeah, right? Do you want us to stand here?
It picks up the sound pretty well. You can put it on the table if you'd like.
Put it out there, it'll pick it up fine.
Make sure you turn it off when I'm done.
What we need to do
The
is
microphone
move
things are already on.
to follow the administration's recommendation.
So is it on already, Jim?
Council's recommendation.
Settled.
Yes. So you're not settled, but just follow the recommendations of
I
council
do.
for the data case.
Well, we're back from executive session.
Make a motion to reopen?
Do I have a-
Support.
Any discussion, any dissension to that? All right, we're back in session.
I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation of the city attorney, of the attorneys on the, should I name the name of the case?
Dado
Okay.
versus Hazel Park.
The
That's
Dado versus Hazel Park.
Support.
Any discussion, dissension? Motion passes. Anyone else? Any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, it's come to everyone's attention that there has become an issue with the Hazel Park Historical Commission and the Hazel Park Historical Museum. This particular situation is shocking to me based upon the discussions that I have had with the school superintendent and members of the Board of Education with respect to the resolution of that situation. While we had what we all believed was the framework for an agreement in place, another decision was made, and as a result of that other decision, it appears that members of our city's historical commission have exceeded their authority granted them by ordinance and charter. So I must request that respectfully the council take some sort of action in this matter. I believe the city attorney also has a statement to read as well.
Yes, the agreement that we believe occurred. Such an agreement creates priority for individual special interests and fails to keep balance and impartiality for the preservation of the building and historical artifacts for the welfare of the city as a whole.
Thank you.
Anything else?
So I'd just like to add to that, it's clear to me that this decision was made with personal interest in mind. It was clearly not made in the best interest of the community. If it was, there would have been a good faith effort for the Historical Society to come to the city to negotiate agreement for changing the organization of the Historical Museum. There was no good faith effort to come to us to have that discussion. So based on the actions of last night and the past, I would make a recommendation or a motion to suspend all activities of the Historical Commission pending an investigation till we have all the information at this time.
Support.
Discussion, dissension?
Carries unanimously.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mike, we're giving you a minute.
Good.